my experience with what I believe is getting over the fear of death, it comes down to two things, which I believe are because you don't really think that you've lived your life to the fullest, and the other reason would be because you don't really know what happens after you die. Obviously, a lot of people are just going to be Christian, and since they're Christian, they're just going to believe that they go to heaven. What happens after you die? Now, there's obviously no way to prove it, and I'm not very Christian myself, so I can't really speak for other Christians. Now, I do believe that a lot of Christians, when it comes down to it, if they were put a gun to their head, they would still not 100% think that they're either going to heaven or hell. I think it's really important to get a, a calming sense of what you believe will happen after you die. That's going to be a lot easier for Christians because obviously they just believe that they'll go to heaven or hell, and obviously most of them are thinking they're going to go to heaven. So that's going to be pretty calming. For people that don't believe in God, death is probably going to be more scary for you because you don't really know what's going to happen, and a lot of atheists just believe that you just stop existing. For me, it was actually a really long story. I was completely convinced that I was going to die. I was like 12, I believe. I was convinced that I had ball cancer. My balls were like constantly aching. I'm not joking. If I was joking, I'd probably be laughing. But I believe that I had ball cancer, and I I like thought that like there's no way I can like get the confidence to tell anyone about this. I'm just gonna let the cancer kill me. And I'm like, I'm not gonna live out without my balls either. So like, if I had to get them removed, then I'm just gonna kill myself. But then I go to hell, and then obviously because you can't kill yourself. So yeah, I believe that I had ball cancer, and I was like looking up on YouTube videos that could explain what happens after you die because I still wasn't sure and I wasn't in a comfortable spot with that. The thing that helped me, if you really convince yourself when you're going to sleep that this might be like the last time, it's sort of like comforting, but you're also sort of submitting to death. Another thing that I really need to mention that definitely helped me get over the fear of like not knowing, whatever happens after you die, I really won't even know what happens because I won't have a consciousness, I won't have emotions. I'll just be nothing. And that's really hard for some people to really understand, but when you think what it's going to be like, you won't have a consciousness anymore, so you won't really have an emotional reaction to death. I mean, you might have one before you die, but when you do and your brain stops working, it's just going to be like nothing for you. It's just going to be like a calming, relaxing, like you don't know what's happening. You'd have no self. You'd have no self anymore, no body to really experience that. Then it's sort of like, well, why not? Because death is always inevitable for everyone. So it's like, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna feel fulfilled or not fulfilled if I'm dead right now. It's gonna be like I'm just gonna be dead and I won't feel anything. People are still just confused what conscious really is, and honestly, it's really just an idea. What I believe, at least, it's sort of just like gives one an illusion of self when there really was no self to begin with. But the idea of you will still live even if you're dead. Make me think of the movie Coco, where like the people die and then when everyone forgets about them, they actually die. So yeah, the idea of you is the only you that really exists right now, and it's still gonna survive after you die too. And that really makes you think, honestly, nothing that's really alive is actually like alive. It's just has the idea of life. It's just moving in a predicted way, and that gets to back to like how I believe that free will isn't really real, and it's just sort of an idea too. If you knew everything that was happening, if you were somehow how able to comprehend it, then of course you would know everything that's going to happen afterwards. So the idea of a person or a self is just an idea that will last until someone forgets about you. It's getting sort of into the Descartes philosophy that obviously I think therefore I am. If someone thinks that you're real, then you technically are. Another thing that I really need to mention, what we fear most honestly is just what we don't know. Like think about like if you're giving your first presentation in class, you're going to be scared because you haven't done that before. But if you're used to public speaking, then it's not going to be really anything because it's more predictable what's going to happen. And the more you don't know, the more you're going to fear it. So, obviously, no one knows what's going to happen after you die. I mean, when you get down to it, the ultimate goal is just to die being happy. Like, feeling like you did a lot with your life. And then everything you do right now is just an attempt to fulfill yourself enough to the point where you can die and be happy with it. And that sort of gets back into the, well, I don't think I lived enough. Honestly, everything you do, I believe, is just to die. I want to get a wife, get married, have kids, do all that, go skydiving. I just want to do all that so I can die knowing that I did that experience. And honestly, most of the things that we do are just to have the experience after we die. I want to do this to say I did it, not to actually do it. People just do things to have the experience, just to say that they did it. Just to have the idea of doing it. Not to have actually done it and to actually get something out of it. People like contradict this idea that like you're just all doing everything just to die. I don't think someone that just sits at home all day and eats McDonald's is gonna wanna do all that just to have said that they did it after they die. Like, if someone's doing that, then they're telling their body that, hey, I've done everything, I'm just living here eating McDonald's, I don't need to actually do anything for experience anymore, I can die. And that's why people, when they do stuff like that, they don't have something that they're chasing for an experience, then they get depressed and want to kill themselves because they're telling their body that they want to die. And I mean, that's probably why people are so suicidal all of a sudden, is because if you're just sitting down on your phone, you're not really going to be living, quote unquote. If you keep living and living, and then eventually you're going to get to a point where like, I've lived enough, and you're just going to want to die. And that's also physical. If you physically tell your body that I lived enough by just not doing anything anymore, you're going to want to die. And that just sort of revolves back to the idea that everyone's just doing everything to die.